Hey, what's up guys, my name is Faruzan, and today I want to talk about the new 3.3 characters, Scaramouche and Faruzan. But before that, a lot of you guys haven't subscribed to my channel yet. If you enjoyed the video and wish to hear more from me later on, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as that will help this channel to grow. And have I mentioned that you'll win your next 50-50 if you're subscribed to this channel? No? Anyways, let's start the video. Scaramouche banner is going to be released in a few days, and unless you're a fan of Scaramouche, you're probably going to ask whether Scaramouche is worth your Primogems or not. As we know, Scaramouche is going to be released together with his 4-star support, just like how Sarah is released together with Raiden. And just like Sarah, Faruzan is a 4-star support that specializes in both boosting animal damage and shredding animal resistance. Not only that, but Faruzan can also boost damage caused by all types of attack to deal extra damage based on Faruzan's attack, but we'll need to wait for her to be available to actually see her scalings. And this is actually what Scaramouche needs, since he's a hyper carry who's really hungry for on-field time and deal massive damage through both his normal attacks and charge attacks. Let's talk about Scaramouche first. Scaramouche is the latest hyper carry released on Genshin Impact, where he shines only when he's on field and provides almost nothing at all when he's off field. Just like Xiao, you need to build your team around him by using characters that can buff him and provide all kinds of support such as healing and shields, since he's the main damage dealer in your team. As we have seen on the livestream, Scaramouche's elemental skill lets him fly around and change his attack stance, while also absorbing the elements around him, and depending on the element he absorbed, he will gain certain buffs. But one thing that I need to remind you is that swirl reaction has priorities. What it means is basically when there are two different elements present when the swirl occur, the one that will be swirled is the one who has higher priority. And the priority goes from Pyro, Hydro, Electro, and then Cryo. But as you know, when fighting enemies, it's really hard to swirl the element that you want, since there are a lot of factors like skills that apply elements to oneself, or even environment like burning grass for example. Pyro is usually the easiest one to swirl, but we'll talk about it later in detail when he's released and I can test out a few more things. Since we know that elemental swirl is really hard to control, building a team that focuses on specific elemental infusions is not really recommended. Since Scaramouche mainly deals animal damage, he's somewhat Faruzan dependent. Jin's Constellation 4 can reduce animal resistance, so does Fentis Constellation 2 and Constellation 6, but the only character that can boost both animal damage and shred animal resistance is only Faruzan, making Faruzan an essential unit in his team. Also, because Scaramouche is an animal hyper carry, just like Xiao, you can rely on elemental reactions to deal massive damage. The damage you dealt depends heavily on your attack, animal damage bonus, animal resistance shred, and nothing else. But what's interesting about Scaramouche is that his gameplay relies on attack speed. The new 5-star Catalyst increases his attack speed and his normal attack damage, which buffs Scaramouche heavily. Since being an animal hyper carry, he can rely on elemental reactions to increase his damage output. So more attack speed means more damage. And a lot of characters give attack speed bonus like Aito's Constellation 4, Jin's Constellation 2 or Yunjin's Constellation 6, etc. But building Scaramouche around attack speed is probably not the best, since you're sacrificing so much potential buffs that you can get from characters like Faruzan for example. But again, everything can change on release, so we'll have to wait until he's released to understand better. Faruzan is well, Faruzan. Just like how Goro is a dedicated support for Geo, Sarah for Electro, Faruzan is a dedicated support for Anemo, increasing the output of the animal characters in your team, while also providing buffs like attack that can increase your DPS greatly. And I also think that HoYoverse is trying to correct their mistake by giving Bennett his Constellation 6 that infuses character attacks with Pyro. Even I made a mistake on activating his Constellation 6. Well, not really a mistake, but you know what I mean. With an element dedicated buffer such as Faruzan, you don't need to worry about your attacks getting infused with Pyro. And Faruzan is also a bow user, which means that you can utilize Elegy for the NC effect, meaning that you don't need to force using Faruzan as an animal buffer, but you can also use her as a driver for swirl and also buffing the party's attack and elemental mastery. But again, we need to wait until she is released to know about the numbers, how much she buffs, etc. Scaramouche and Faruzan are definitely great. Even though Scaramouche might not be the best, his gameplay looks really fun, such as doing aerial attacks, etc. and I can't wait to test him out later when he comes out. But if you're planning to use Scaramouche as a DPS that could one-shot bosses or deals insane amount of damage, I don't think he's the character for it. Again, we will need to wait until his release to be sure. As for Faruzan, I think she is somewhat a must-pull. She's the only dedicated anemo buffer that we've got so far, and even her kit looks promising. You can argue that she'll be added to the standard banner later, but with so many new 4 stars being added into the game, the chance to get her from the standard banner might be lower than you think. So while she's still here, grab her if you can, but if you don't want to, or you don't need her because you don't have any anemo DPS, then you can skip her. It's fine. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.